Dakota town is destroyed, you will... What? Impossible, this can't be! He overpowered me?
Let's do this, Aizen. Come on, it'll be over real quick.
The way Ichigo grabbed Aizen's face and dragged him across fake Katakura town is how I felt getting my hands on this Bleach game. I had to make sure I pre-ordered this at GameStop because it was not at Best Buy, it was not at Target, it was not at Walmart. What is it with anime games only be sold in like certain stores?
Bleach me to dust, let darkness take this over. Unveil the sorry, death and strawberry. The bravest, the only will to believe. Calling me, the shrieking alone. Ghost inside of me, hauntingly hypnotize me. Chasing lights into the night, through black and white. This blade might buy my soul. There's nothing I've left to lose. I owe this life to you.
I thought I would find you here, Captain Aizen. No, I won't call you Captain. Not any longer. Now your name is just Sosuke Aizen, the traitor.
Hello, Captain Unohana. It's about time you showed up. I thought you'd be here much faster. Did it take this long to figure out where I was?
The Seijoto Kyorin is the only area in the entirety of the Seirete that has been designated as absolutely off-limits to outsiders, no matter who they are or what reason they may have to be there. And of course, that would make it the perfect place for someone who had gone to such elaborate extremes to fake his own death, even taking such pains as constructing that sophisticated doll in order to conceal himself from any prying and inquisitive eyes.
Almost. You deduced well, but you made two mistakes. First of all, I didn't actually come here in order to hide. And second of all, as a matter of fact, this isn't a doll.
When did he?
When? I had it in my hand. It was right here, this entire time. But I kept it hidden. I didn't allow you to see it until right now.
What?
What?
You'll understand soon enough. Watch, I'll unbind the spell. Shatter Kyoka Suigetsu. The ability that my Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu possesses is complete hypnosis.
But Kyoka Suigetsu is a water-type Zanpakuto. It uses diffused reflections of fog and water to confuse one's enemies so that they kill each other. That's what you told me. I remember, Captain Eisen. You brought all of us together. All of us lieutenants. And you showed it to us.
So then, that was when you did it. That's when you hypnotized everyone.
Correct. Complete hypnosis disrupts the senses intensely so that the victim misidentifies the enemy. Appearance, shape, size, texture, and even smell are all affected to an extreme degree. In other words, a fly can appear to be a dragon, and a swamp can seem like it's a flower garden. The spell becomes activated when the victim sets eyes upon the released Kyoka Suigetsu. Having seen it even once, from that moment on, they are under its hypnotic power, and each subsequent time I release Kyoka Suigetsu, the hypnotic control returns.
Seen once, then...
Now you understand? Yes. And if the release must be seen in order for the spell to work, then it won't be able to function effectively against a blind person. From the very beginning, Kaname Tosen has been working for me. A word of praise before I go. You examined my body far more thoroughly than any of the others. The fact that you felt even the slightest bit of suspicion while under the influence of complete hypnosis is most remarkable, Captain Unohana. Goodbye. I doubt that I'll ever see any of you again.
Hold on!
Hey guys, welcome back to Everything Anime Podcast. I'm your host Shinry, here with Everything Anime Podcast, talking from anime, manga, video games, TV shows, whatever relevant topic I'm talking about. Today's video is on the game review of Bleach Rebirth of Souls, PS5. Now, when I talk about my game reviews, I like to talk about my relationship with the game or the series, and then, get into explanation of my thoughts of the game. Usually a full in-depth review, sometimes, but not always, depending on the game. This one we'll get into why it's an in-depth review, but I'll explain all that in a second. So my relationship with Bleach is, Bleach was the first manga I ever read outside of Dragon Ball Z. This was before I knew about the big three. This was before I knew about Naruto, One Piece, Dr. Stone, Tokyo Ghoul, Shaman King. I knew about Beyblade, okay? I didn't know Beyblade was anime, but I knew about Beyblade, knew about Yu-Gi-Oh!, knew about Pokemon, and of course, now I know they're anime, but as a kid I just thought they were cartoons. Bleach was the first manga. I went into the library and I was looking for something to read, and I was like, what is this, Bleach? What the hell? And so I flipped through it. I loved the way that T. Kubo drew his panels, how, in world it looked, the battles, the drawings. Man, the first time, there was one page that really got me that I knew I would love it, is, hold on, give me 1 second. This page, Ichigo first became a Soul Reaper. That page, I was like, okay, this looks dope. It's got monsters and shit. Anyways, Bleach was my first big manga that I read. And it wasn't playing on Tsunami like, Naruto and One Piece was, because One Piece came on after school just before Naruto did. And, that One Piece rap had you going, gotta go, said stuff for one. Everybody know that One Piece rap. Even if you don't like One Piece, the One Piece rap is legendary. And if you haven't heard the One Piece rap, listen to the One Piece rap. It is legendary. That was made by 4Kids. That was not made by Funimation or Crunchyroll. That is literally somebody here in America that made that One Piece rap. Just like, them Pokemon songs, the Pokemon raps that we sang and listen to, yeah. Give the One Piece rapper a shot. Now, Bleach, the anime, came on, later at night during, Adult Swim. Kind of like Inuyasha as well. Inuyasha was an Adult Swim anime. But yeah, Bleach, it blew me away. Especially the first arc. Anybody tell you that the Soul Society arc, the first 50 episodes, are, mind-blowing. Not that all of Bleach isn't, but Bleach, like Naruto, is known for a lot of filler. But the problem with Bleach is the filler can happen during the main story at any time. The Zanbakuto Rebellion is good. The Bound arc is trash. Sorry, T-Kubo, I don't know what you were trying to do with Vampire Ghost, but it was not working. Okay, the Vampire Ghost was not working. Anyways, though, Yeah, my relationship with this was my first manga that I read out of the big three, and actually Bleach used to be, so everybody thinks Naruto was number one. No, at first it was Bleach, Naruto, then One Piece, and then eventually One Piece went above Naruto. I think Naruto went above them at one point, but One Piece, like after a certain point, One Piece was number one, and then Bleach dropped to the bottom, and then they brought in My Hero Academia. All right, so another thing I do know about is the reason why Bleach is ending, the reason why we got the 1,000-Year Blood War like 14 years later, is because Bleach's ending was rushed because they were bringing in Black Clover, which you know I love, and they were bringing in My Hero Academia, which had hype in the beginning and then died towards the end. I've talked about My Hero Academia and how it ended. But that's why Bleach's ending was rushed. They're like, Kubo, you take too long. But they ain't rushing One Piece, and you know, Naruto could use a lot more fleshing out. There was a lot of things in Naruto about a war arc that like just didn't get resolved or answered to. It just kind of like got wrapped up. Almost like a neat little bow, but wasn't that neat. It was a nice gift. It wasn't a great gift, but it was a nice gift. You know, it was nice. We loved it, but you know, we could have loved it even more. It could have been amazing if you had wrapped up things a little bit better. But Bleach didn't get that chance. And so now with 1,000-Year Blood War we're getting, it's done in part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 coming out sometime in 2026 or into 2025. Something like that. We're getting to see what T. Kubo's vision was, and there's been a lot of changes so far, especially with Zero Squad. If you've seen Zero Squad, what they did in part 3, Big Zero Squad, when they showed up, they got wiped the floor with after like they just made their appearance. It was pretty tragic, okay? I was like, y'all the Zero Squad captains, y'all the ones protecting the Soul King, and y'all got wiped out, but the captains of the Goten 13, which we have come to know and love, they whooping their ass in a rematch. But yeah, they did Squad Zero a little bit justice this time. They did. If you've seen part 3, you already know the changes. But yeah, so I've always been a fan of Bleach. I love Bleach. I want to meet T. Kubo. You know, funny story, and this is true, and I'm going to tell you how I know it's true. In 2010, 2011, my mom went to New York Comic Con without me. I didn't go to my first convention until 2015, and that was MegaCon Orlando. Maybe 2016. I think it was 2015 though, because I didn't work at the Boardwalk yet. Oh, I did work at the Boardwalk. It had to be 2016 then. No, I was already at the Boardwalk, so 2015, it still could have been. Either way, 2015 was my first Comic Con. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is in 2011, my mom went to New York Comic Con. Here's how I know she's telling the truth. She said, hey, Terrence, you know, I was at New York Comic Con. I went and saw this guy named Bleach. I met this guy that wrote Bleach or something like that. Like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of anime or something. And, you know, he said that he wants to read your book. I said, what? She's like, yeah, he wrote Bleach or something. I don't know. She's like, I just talked to him for a few minutes. I said my son reads anime. And she said he probably reads your stuff. And he's like, oh, he's an author? I want to read his book. Now, I can't say that's what he said verbatim, but that's what my mama said he said. The reason why I believe her is because I never told my mom about Bleach. I never told my mom about anime. She told me the creator of Bleach wanted to meet me because I write books. And she did not get his autograph. I said, Mama, you don't go to New York Comic Con without me, because I didn't know about the Comic Cons back then. But you don't go up to the creator of Bleach and not get his autograph. What? I at least got, it's faded now, but I at least got, I know that man's name. Johnny Youngbotch. I at least got his autograph before it faded away. Dang. And I met Johnny Youngbotch maybe 2018, 2019 at New York Comic Con. He's a very nice dude, very nice dude. I loved him since Power Rangers, the first movie. I thought he was my man, okay? I thought Johnny Youngbotch was fine in Power Rangers when I was a kid. I was like, oh, that man's fine. Did you know he improv that line whenever he's like, I'm a frog, and she's like, a frog touches a handsome prince? He improv that. I'm going to slip that in here if I can.
Adam? Adam, what's wrong?
I'm a frog.
Yes, a frog. Like the one you kissed. To get a handsome prince.
Random side note. But yeah, that's my relationship with Bleach, is that I've always been a fan of it. And as well as Johnny Youngbotch, and as well as T. Kubo. Now, he did make a spin-off called Burn the Witch. It was like a one-off, like how Naruto made that one-off manga of Minato, and how Demon Slayer did a one-off thing about, I want to call him Rangaiku, but that's not his name. The Flame, Ashura. You know, they had one-offs. I didn't like Burn the Witch that much. I know some people did. But I still support Chikubo, no matter what he does. I love it. So I think that's basically my relationship with the game / show. Now the game itself. First off, props. The animation, but cutscenes are fucking incredible. We just did a review of Sparking Zero. They did not have cutscenes like this. Like, the cutscenes play out just like the show. Like, I mean, not even just like the show. Just it plays out like a movie basically. Like, you can just watch it. It's going into the same thing about like why I'm not going an in-depth review of the story. It's because this is literally the story of Bleach. It is the story of Bleach from the first episode all the way up to the battle with Aizen, the battle of Fate Katakura Town. Now, it's not gonna show all 200 something episodes, obviously, but it is detailed enough where if you've never watched Bleach, if you've never heard of Bleach, you get enough context out of this game to know the whole story of Bleach up into the battle with Aizen. But again, you are missing like some context here and there, but you have enough to know, like just like watching the One Piece live action on Netflix, you have enough context to know about what One Piece is about, how Devil Fruits work, yada yada yada, relationship with the characters. But obviously, if you watch the actual Bleach anime, you understand everything. And me as a Bleach fan, I did watch all the cutscenes from start to finish. I really, really enjoyed them. Again, they are really well done. So that is a major pro with this game. That anybody that's not into Bleach or hasn't seen Bleach, or maybe just like you was curious about Bleach and you want to know if you should start it, play this game, baby, watch all the cutscenes, you're going to definitely get into it. Now, there's some other things I want to talk about. Let's talk about the Bankais. So, if you played, I don't own the copy right now. Yeah, I don't own it right now. Bleach Shattered Blade on Wii. I mean, there's other Bleach spin-off games, but that's the last one that I can remember fully. They did have Bankais in that game, but the way you use your Bankais, it is always present. Take Tozen, for example, who I'll probably clip in right here. Tozen's Bankai removes all the senses and basically makes it look like you're walking in darkness and only Tozen can see. Well, sort of, because the player that plays Tozen, you still gotta know where Tozen at. Because Tozen is in the darkness, so you'll see in the gameplay. But your character, the opposing character, is in the light. And if you can find Tozen, or if he gets close enough to attack you, he's in the light and becomes visible again. That is a really cool show of Bankai. Other people that like have like a range effect. I know when Renji uses his Bankai, that giant snake, that shit like expands the screen and he can hit you from a far distance. Byakuya, you can't really see his Bankai like that because he's not surrounded by 1,000 petals, but like you can attack your opponent from far away with all the petals. Rukia's Bankai's not in here. We're gonna talk about some of that stuff when I talk about the characters. But yeah, a lot of the Bankais are pretty fucking good. Like, you know, showing off how the abilities work. And then, like I said, expanding around, like, affecting the whole stage. And they last until the very end of the match. So the Bankais don't go away. It's not like a timer thing. Like, they stay ever present after they're activated. Really love that. That is a really great detail. I guess we can go ahead and talk about the characters now. Obviously, you can see this character roster list is very small. Now, Bleach has a lot of characters. Maybe not as much as Dragon Ball Z, but enough of a roster like Naruto where this should be a bigger roster of characters. And yeah, we did get a recent DLC that had like maybe a few characters on it, but it was mostly costumes, and I think that's really disappointing. Like, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to wait till the 1,000-Year Blood War is like more spread out before they drop all the 1,000-Year Blood War characters. But I'm like, there are pre-1,000-Year Blood War characters. The Fullbringers are missing. Again, we're not including the bounce. The bounce are terrible. But I don't know, Yukitake. We got the other guy with the twin blades. A lot of the Espada. Baragon is in the game, but he's not a playable character. There's Ishin, Ichigo's dad. He could have been playable. Uryu's dad, Ryukin, he's in the game, but not playable. Like, I mean, you can fight him. Orihime is obviously missing, and I know what some people are going to say, like, how would Orihime fit in this game? Orihime was in Bleach the Shattered Blade, okay? She didn't really have like amazing attacks. It wasn't like that incredible, but she could heal herself in the middle of battle. She could create shields, and like she just basically slapped her opponent. Which I mean, it could work. Or they could use like her using her attack thing. He could just have like a special kind of attack thing, like attack opponents. I think Orihime is needed in this game. Instead of like having flash tap, maybe she can heal herself or something like that. You know, I think it'd be cool. I want Orihime as DLC. She's one of the noticeable ones missing. Also speaking of that, Rukia's Bankai is missing. We don't have Rukia's Bankai form. Again, they probably wait for Thousand Blood War to end. Renji's Evolved Bankai is down here. That's probably waiting for Thousand Blood War to end. Zaraki Kenpachi's Bankai is down here. Probably waiting for the Thousand Blood War to end because they don't want to spoil that because it hasn't happened yet in anime. Or Toshiro's Evolved Bankai. So again, I'm like, but the problem is, if the game comes out, I mean, if the update comes out a year later when you want the Thousand Blood War Part 4 to come out, you're gonna have to hope that there's a resurgence for this, because I'm like, again, you could have so many characters already that can keep this game alive. You don't need 180 characters like in Sparking Zero, but you at least need like 75. We got 21. I'm like, for a fighting game in 2025 when you got a lot of characters in this anime, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a Rebirth of Souls Part 2 next year, and maybe that'll have an expanded list of characters. I do like all the different fighting stages. That's cool. I do like the characters that we got, but I said there's a lot of more characters that could be in here. Let's see. Oh, giant battles. So, like in Sparking Zero, there are like giant battles, like how you fought the Great Ape and stuff like that. In here, the giants are like the Minos Grande, the Triad. That's probably the one I'm gonna show. The Triad, Arankars, their giant monster. The Gatekeeper, we fought him early on, and they usually have like a guard thing, like you have to break their guard, and then you can attack them like a lot of damage. You can attack them, but you're not doing a lot of damage till you break their guard, and then that like stuns them for a little bit. Very cool. I like how giant battles are done. Again, it shows off how massive the Minos Grandes are and how intimidating they are. It shows off how giants are and how intimidating they are. Again, very cool. I love that you guys added giant battles in here. And it just flows with the story. You can't play as giants, but they are in the story. Now, if we do want to add them in here at some point, that'd be kind of cool. But again, the way giants move and attack, I think it wouldn't be fair for the opposing player. Because you can play giants in Sparking Zero, but you can't do that here. But I'm alright with that. Anything else I want to say? I talked about the cutscenes, talked about the characters, I talked about the Secret Story. So Secret Story, it's a mode on here. Really, it's like everybody has 3 to 4 different like mini fights or mini stories. It basically just gives you another perspective of it gives you their perspective of what's going on in various parts of the story. Like usually the first part is like pre-meeting Ichigo or like early meeting Ichigo. The second 2 parts or second and third part are like the second and third part are like either between the war, pre-war, like Soul Society arc, and then war arc or Wakamundo arc, and then the final part is always like after Ichigo's lost his powers or after the war's over and they beat Aizen and just showing where the characters are now. I thought it was a really cute touch. But for the most part, I knew where everybody was, but there are some secret stories in here that like Uryu and his dad have his dad Ryukin have a talk, and they're basically like, he's like, you hate Soul Reapers, so why are you talking to Ichigo's dad? He's like, well, Ichigo's dad's a doctor. That's his excuse because Ichigo's dad's a Soul Reaper. If we didn't know that, you do know that now, and obviously, when we knew Ichigo's dad was a Soul Reaper, I knew Ichigo's mom was a Quincy. I just automatically knew that. Wasn't reviewing anime back then, but I said that when I first saw that. It blew all of our minds, but I said that when I saw that. And that is confirmed. Ichigo's mom was a Quincy. If you've seen the Thousand Blood Part 1 or Part 2, I think it's Part 1, it's revealed that Ichigo is part Quincy as well. So I fucking love that reveal. Because I knew that was coming. I think I talked about it in the video, actually. I might have talked about it in the video. But, yeah. So Secret Stories, like, they just expand on stuff outside of the world and, or outside of what the other characters are going through and what they're thinking and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool, very, very cute. Some of the Bazaars are missing. That's what I meant from the character roster. Okay, you had like Shinji and Hiyori I don't think Hiyori's playable. But you added Shinji in here. Where are the other Bizarres? That's, I mean, like, you definitely expand the story. If we're not getting DLC before 2026, make Bleach Rebirth of Souls Part 2. And make it the Thousand Year Blood War. Actually, that's probably what they're going to do. They're either going to expand this story to Thousand Year Blood War with the Fullbringers by the 2026, or there'll be a Bleach Rebirth of Souls Part 2 with the Fullbringer arc / Thousand Year Blood War. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen. That's my speculation for this future game series. I don't think I have much else to say. All around, if you never played Bleach, this is definitely a game worth playing. It's definitely worth your money. It's definitely worth the $70. If you're a Bleach fan, for sure, it's fucking worth it. Again, hopefully we get the DLC, or hopefully there's a Bleach Rebirth of Souls Part 2. I think if you wait a whole year to drop that, though, this is not going to have the resurgence that you think it's going to have. It might. But do it while it's fresh. Do it within the first 2-3 months, you know what I mean? At least every 3 months drop something, or every 2 months drop something. But all in all, love this fucking game. If you're a Bleach fan, let me know what you thought about this game in the comments below. If you're not a Bleach fan, but you got into this Bleach because of this game, let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, again, not much of an in-depth review because basically it's a story of Bleach, and I do think it needs more characters. I do think Orihime needs to be one of the first characters y'all add in here and find a way to make her playable. As well as Ishin and Iryu's dad, because you already got the things for them. Baragon, because you already got him. All these fighters that you already have in the game, just put them, like, as a fighting in the games, put them in the game. Yukitake as well. You know, but overall, I fucking loved it. If you want to know who I main basically Tozen, Chad, and I guess those are my two. I'm gonna just say with them my two mains. Okay, I fuck up with Chad. Okay, I'm gonna fuck you up. Anyways, guys, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry that it's short, not too long, but again, something great like this doesn't need to be long or dragged out. Anyway, I'll see you guys next video. Talk to you later.
I can't sense any spirits. Rukia's presence, that's fading now as well. I guess it's really happening. My powers are disappearing.
This is goodbye, Ichigo.
Yeah, I guess it is.
What? Come on now. You don't have to look so sad. Even if you aren't able to see me, I'm still going to be able to see you.
What good is that? That doesn't cheer me up at all. Besides, I'm not looking sad either. Listen, give everybody my regards.
I will.
Goodbye, Rukia. Thank you.
Of hopes and memories, rebirth of the unholy, to set these souls free. This darkest despair still means nothing to me. Unveil the moonlight, ignite the sea. Take all that's left in me. Don't try to save you, 'cause I'm here to save you. Spread
guys, this video was sponsored by me, the author of the Shinry series, the Chronicles of Wayne, and Monsterverse. So I figured I'd do this outro a little bit different by showing you guys what you guys will be checking out. So, the Shinry series starts with Book 1, Shobu Samurai Project Aryoku. 10 years after the death of his parents, Shobu Samurai returns home seeking vengeance, but instead faces the choice to save his home from shadow creatures, blood beasts, and an organization once thought dead. Shinry's Shobu Samurai starts at $9.99. And if you love anime, manga, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho, Fairy Tail, Shaman King, Rave Master, Zatch Bell, anything like that, the Shinry series is definitely the series for you. You'll definitely want to check it out. The Sword of Light is probably the thickest one so far. And then these books are 2. This is Enter the Dread Zone Tournament. And the series original ending, Arado, the Legendary Conjuring Master. So, and I'll just show you guys some of the covers. Really proud of all of these. But I hope you guys check it out. If you don't like that, I also have the current published books for the Chronicles of Wayne, Love Be Damned, Cotton Candy, Full Moons, Fabled Lovers, A Cursed Virgin's Bite. If You Go Where Monsters Dance, Red will Rain Over Your House. Love Be Damned. Now, the Chronicles of Wayne is about a geeky guy, or a nerdy guy in high school. His senior year, he has a crush on the hottest guy in school, because of course he does. He's only got one best friend, and her name is Barb. Well, the hottest guy in school turns out to be a werewolf. And to make the story more interesting, he bites Wayne and turns Wayne into the first ever wolfman in the last 10 years. And because of that, it was also a sacred law that wolfmen should never be created. I don't want to get into too much of the Chronicles of Wayne without spoiling it, but I can tell you it's very short. This one sells for $6.99, and Love Be Caged right after it. The ending of this trilogy, Love Be Liberated, comes out in October. So I'm going to definitely do a more full in-depth review of this one. But yeah, it's an LGBT fantasy fiction story about werewolves, vampires, white witches, a dark warlock, and, well, many, many more surprises to come. So, if you guys like to read, I definitely recommend. These are all the books so far in the Shinry series, except for Shinry's Beginning. I do have that one, but it's just not here with me. But yeah, I appreciate a like, support, or just a review on Amazon. Either way, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.